Yeah, we can move on to our first loser of the week, which honestly, this loser makes Ryan Tannehill being a winner be that much more of a winner
Sure.
because, by God, was the pass protection today suspect at its peak and its best.
Yeah, I think suspect is a kind way of putting it.
I'm the
There were
optimist.
there were
I'm trying
times
my
today
best
where it
here.
was a total abject mess, right? It certainly was not. I mean, listen, there are levels to these things. Was it worse than week 1? Yes, it was. Was it as bad as some of the truly horrendous pass protection games we saw last year and the year prior with the Tennessee Titans? No. Like, is it top 5 worst of the last 3 seasons? No. But was it very bad by any reasonable standard? Yes. So, like you said, Ryan Tannehill managed this bounce back performance despite his offensive line for much of the day today. Titans line allowed 5 sacks for 46 yards, negative 46 yards, that is, and 6 quarterback hits to boot on Sunday. Getting, as Mike Vrabel put it after the game, getting the bleep knocked out of Ryan Tannehill more than once. Things got particularly rocky out of the gate. Those first 2 drives, you have UDFA rookie Xavier Newman-Johnson filling in for Peter Skoronski at that left tackle, left guard. There we go, Easton. Left guard position. And in those first, I don't want to frame this where I'm blaming everything in those first 2 drives, protection-wise, on Xavier Newman-Johnson. Offensive line is pretty impossible to evaluate in game. Like, let me get back to you on the Wednesday show. I'll have watched all 22 by then. I'll have a better idea of how he performed in his 2 series. The Titans gave him the nod after Peter Skoronski. People were wondering, illness popping up on the Friday injury report, like what's going on. Peter Skoronski, he got a AJ Brown Chipotle case of the stomach bug, and he's just like, he's puking and he can't stay hydrated and he's malnourished now. Or like, what's the deal? You have a bad case of the flu. I saw some people clowning him for being like, oh, he just rub some dirt in it. You're playing football. You're an offensive lineman. Like, how bad can it be? He had his appendix out. He had an emergency appendectomy, which is a reasonable reason. The surgery on a Thursday or a Friday or whenever it was. I'm imagining Thursday night because he was at practice Thursday on the injury report on Friday and not there. So that's let's relax on that. Let's chill. That's a reasonable thing. A very unfortunate, just a super Titans thing for your rookie first round pick who was the star of your new offensive line in week 1. And then now, this setback that is not his fault by any means. It's not even one of those things where it's like, well, injuries aren't their fault, but the guy can't stay healthy. No, like that's just luck. It sucks. Happened to Joe Burrow last year. It's happened to a lot of players. The good news is, it's not something that's going to have him out for a long time. The bad news is, it could be that he's back next week. We've seen some players return after a week off. We've seen some players have to take 3 or 4 weeks off. I saw a lot of people today once it was confirmed it was an appendectomy talking online about, oh, great, he'll be back next week. Maybe there's a chance. It's a wide-ish range of outcomes here. It could be up to 4 weeks, really, and it could be as little as he is back next Sunday. We'll just have to see. But taking that sidetrack, get back on the rails here. Xavier Newman-Johnson, first 2 drives, things were not great. They were not good in general, but in pass protection in particular. Mike Vrabel decided he'd seen enough, decided to send in the guy that he said on Friday will be playing in this game. We weren't sure whether or not to take that as he'll be active, he'll be, the swing guy, or he'll be starting. He didn't start, but he played the majority of the game going in, taking over for Xavier Newman-Johnson at that left guard position for the rest of the game. And again, I'm not saying it's all Newman-Johnson's fault that things were bad, and then all Dylan Radin's response. I'm not saying he's responsible for all of the better things that happened. I need to watch the tape, but there was a correlation there. Things started to settle down. They started to get into some kind of rhythm. Again, this is a relative term. They went from really, really bad to start to shaky the rest of the game. But once you got him in there, that was something that was working out well. The Newman-Johnson-Dillard combo on that left side in those first 2 drives, they allowed a drive-killing sack on each of the Titans' first 2 drives. Both sackers, Nick Bosa, and then I forget who had the first sack. I think it was Kenneth, what's the linebacker? Blank on his name.
Yeah.
People know what I'm talking about. You go find it. But I think that's who it was. But regardless, both sackers got through
Gibson, I think.
Pretty
Kenneth
clean.
Gibson?
No. You're thinking of Travis Gibson. Just, you'll go find it.
I got it.
both sackers got through relatively clean and untouched, and both plays were fellow Kenneth in the chat helping us out with Kenneth Murray. Thank you, Kenneth Murray. And I'm still not even positive he was the first guy that I think so. Either way, again, both guys got through it so quickly, so effectively that both plays were pretty much dead on snap. Like they were, you just didn't match protection. And so neither play had a chance. So you put in Dylan Radins, things get better. And Tannehill, to be fair, was not completely blameless in the number of sacks that were taken. That second one where he backs up closer and closer to the Titans goal line, you're wondering, hey, hang on, safety alert, let's chill, quit backing up. He takes a sack inside the Titans 5 and puts them in a bad punting situation. There was not good protection on that play at all, but also he held onto the ball for far too long on a couple of those. But again, in general, the pass pro simply not good enough. Dylan came in, line settled in, but the improvement, it was not enough to feel particularly comfortable whenever Tennessee tried to drop back and pass the ball. All of that being said, this line, I don't want people to overreact. I don't think this is an overreact spot. It's a very new line. It lacks experience. These guys lack experience with one another. We came into the season knowing this. We knew that this line was going to take time to gel. And you don't gel in 1 week. You don't gel in 2 weeks. You're probably not going to be gelled by week 3 or week 4. Like a lot of times offensive lines take 6 to 8 weeks. It's by midseason. You're like, hey, they're finally finding their stride, stringing a couple of good games together. So until they find that rhythm, things are going to remain shaky on offense. But I do think that patience is warranted.
Yeah, and then we have a couple of comments here on those issues here. Kenneth also pointing out that Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack good at football. So like when you are good at a disadvantage like that, almost you had to expect that it was going to be shaky at best when you do not have Peter Skoronski in there, and you're kind of putting a hodgepodge of just trying to get guys through this game here to see
UDFA rookie on one hand, or man 8 months removed from ACL tear on other hand. Choose your fighter. Like, exactly.
And then Zedine says that Radins did look good today, though, at left guard, which he was a lot better than Xavier Newman-Johnson was. However, even if to your point, if Peter Skoronski does not come back next week, as Pretty Boy Lipshit says, Myles Garrett is going to be a absolute problem for this line next week.
Andre Dillard has been an issue. He is through 2 weeks, he is the consistent glaring issue both weeks. Again, week 2, asterisk, I need to go watch the tape. I'll talk more about him probably on Wednesday. But assuming what I saw with my bare eyes from the press box today is reflected in the tape, he's the issue, and we kind of came into the season worried that he may be the issue, and those worries are coming to fruition.